Discover the miraculous rise of Benjamin, God's beloved son and the transforming covenant tribe, in the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, as the land of Canaan was besieged with anguish. A defining event unfolded in the tent of Jacob, pivotal in God's plan of redemption. Rachel, beloved wife of Jacob, endured great sorrow, longing for the son who would complete her heart's desire. It was under the heavy burden of labor that Benjamin came forth from the shadow of death, bringing rapture and pain alike. Benoni, she whispered a name that echoed with sorrow for the son born amidst strife, yet Jacob, filled with a father's hope, renamed him Benjamin, son of my right hand, foretelling strength and divine favor. Yet, even as joy mingled with grief, darkness loomed over Jacob's household. His other sons, Simeon and Levi, harbored resentment, eyes narrowed at the favored child, for they had plotted against Joseph, their brother, sending him into the depths of despair far from their land. Benjamin, innocent and unaware, played amidst the family stories, blissfully caught in the warm embrace of childhood, yet surrounded by the shadow of familial treachery and unspoken guilt. As years passed, the land of Canaan grew barren, famine clawing at the earth's yields. Jacob, in anguish, commanded his sons to seek grain in far-off Egypt, not knowing that there stood Joseph, now a powerful ruler, bearing the burden of their betrayal on his shoulders. As his brothers approached, trembling and fearful, disbelief washed over them, for unseen was the divine orchestration of their reconciliation. A desperate test awaited them. "Is not this the brother whom we cast aside?" murmured Joseph, as they stood limping under the weight of guilt and fear. He concealed his true identity, longing for resolution, preparing a heart-wrenching test to unveil their souls. In the shadows, he ordered his steward, with a keen eye, to fill the brothers' sacks and place his precious silver cup, a symbol of authority hidden within the youngest's load. How will they respond? He pondered, watching closely as they departed, foreboding uncertainty clouding their future. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. The well-placed cup was discovered, and as panic seized the brothers, they found themselves ensnared in the web of past sins. "Take us instead," they implored, faced with the specter of loss looming over their family. In their desperation, they realized that redemption was not merely a hope for Benjamin but for themselves, too. They stood united against the darkness they bore, awakening the embers of brotherhood, a transformation beginning to stir. At that critical moment, Benjamin remained unaware of how profoundly the struggle for mercy could enact a change so divine. The heavy weight of their ancestral sin bore down upon the air, pregnant with the possibility of hope. In the presence of unresolved tensions, the assurance of reconciliation flickered like a distant flame. Would they recognize their desperate hour? Could the light of providence shine upon them, bringing forth the promise of redemption? With Joseph poised to reveal his true self, the heart of the covenant beckoned. From sorrow, the son of Jacob was destined to stand as a beacon of hope amidst adversity. What awaited them in the unfolding of God's intricate tapestry? The resolution hung in the balance, waiting to ignite the flame of divine truth in their hearts. As the dust settled around them, the brothers clung to each other in a tumult of emotion, heartbeats echoing their past failures and present fears. "What shall we do?" they questioned in hushed tones, their voices trembling under the weight of their guilt. In that moment, Judah stepped forward, his heart pounding against the prison of memories that haunted them. "Hear me, my brothers," he implored, "let me offer my life in place of Benjamin. It is his innocence that has drawn this blight upon us, and our father's heart would be shattered if we take him from him." Judah's words pierced the very air as if they were a divine supplication, a plea for redemption that resonated deeply within their souls. For the first time, they sought the good of another above their own self-preservation, yearning to atone for the wounds of their past. The echoes of their betrayal loomed large, swirling like clouds storming the skies. And yet within those shadows, the shadows of the covenant, divine light began to stir. Joseph stood, eyes moist with unspoken sorrow, observing his brothers as they wrestled with the legacy of their actions. Their hearts, once hardened like stone, now stretched toward love. The truth wrapped around him tightly, like a coat woven of hope. At once, he could no longer bear the weight of pretense. Tension uncoiled as he beckoned to them with a voice that trembled with the balm of grace. "I am Joseph," he spoke, and the words struck like thunder, igniting a tempest within the hearts of the 12. "Is my father alive? Can you still love me after what I have done?" These questions spilled forth, raw and wild, as Joseph's tears flowed freely. They were tears of compassion, layered with strife and sweet relief. He extended his hands toward them, inviting them to draw near. "Do not be distressed," he whispered, "for what you intended for evil, God intended for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Genesis 50 verse 20. The brothers quaked before him, their history of treachery unfurling like a scroll, yet the transformative grace encompassed them in an embrace that spoke louder than their deeds. Redemption had woven its way through the fabric of their family, igniting hearts once steered toward selfish exchanges. The weight of guilt began to lift, replaced with a song of forgiveness. They wept together, understanding that the trials they faced had brought them to this sacred moment of grace, a proving ground for their spirits, drawing them into the promise of reconciliation. Benjamin, caught within the embrace of salvation, felt the warmth of a new beginning, as if the divine lineage was calling him forth. "Come, let us return to our father," Joseph said, gesturing toward the horizon, which stretched wide with the promise of restored relationships. "I will provide for you and your children," he declared, outlining not just an escape from famine, but the restoration of family and the continuity of the covenant that would bless future generations. As they journeyed back, the seeds of unity took root. Hearts that had been brandished with betrayal now flourished with love, forging their own covenant anew, and as they drew near home, the stars twinkled brilliantly, casting a divine pattern across the night sky, a silent testament to God's eternal faithfulness. Would the heart of Jacob rejoice in the return of his sons and the discovery of God's intricate plan woven through their strife? The time had come when the threads of sorrow would weave into a tapestry of triumph, heralding the dawn of a new chapter in the unfolding story of redemption. Would they realize that through their plight, the very blessing of nations was to stem from their loins? And so it came to pass that Joseph and his brethren embarked on their journey back to the land of their father, leaving behind the shadow of their past and stepping into the light of a hopeful future. The road was long, yet with every step, every footfall, an unseen hand guided their way, whispering promises of restoration and unity. As they approached the edge of Canaan, hearts raced in anticipation. The very air was thick with the scent of home, a fragrance sweetened by memories and the longings of a father yearning to see his sons. The anguish of years began to ease within them, replaced by a warmth that ignited their spirits. Joseph's revelations had mended what had been broken, opened the door for reconciliation and forgiveness. "Let us hasten our pace," Reuben urged, his voice strong yet quivering with hope. "Surely our father awaits with bated breath." The brothers nodded, their minds filled with joyous visions of their father Jacob, eager to share the good news. But within Judah, a flicker of trepidation remained. Could their father embrace the son whom he believed was lost? Would this reunion be marred by reminders of unfaithfulness and past betrayals? They pressed forth, guided by the memory of Jacob's tear-streaked cheeks when they had brought him the coat of many colors, drenched in the blood of the goat. Would he see them now as bearers of joy, as instruments of God's grace? As they reached the encampment that had been their home, the sight of the familiar tent stirred within them a deep sense of belonging, and tears glistened anew in their eyes. But their resolve trembled as they approached their father, whose days had been steeped in sorrow since the loss of Joseph. "Father!" they called, voices raised in unison. At the sound, Jacob looked up, frail yet wide-eyed, caught in the cusp of an age-old hope. Heart fluttering in his chest, he responded, "Is it truly you who return?" With tremors of fear, yet bursting with hope, they stepped forward. "We have come home, Father." And as they spoke, Joseph stepped out from the throng of his brothers, the air vibrant with revelation. "Father!" Joseph exclaimed, his voice trembling with emotion, "It is I, your son, whom you thought lost." At the sight of Joseph, Jacob's heart surged. Could it be? Was the son whom the wild beasts had claimed a figment of his grief now standing before him? His breath caught in his throat, and with a quickening step, Jacob approached, trembling with disbelief and joy. As their eyes met, the dust of years of torment faded, replaced with unending love. Jacob enveloped Joseph with arms of acceptance, a father's embrace that spoke of years of yearning finally quenched. "Oh my son! You are alive!" Jacob wept, overwhelming joy intertwining with unresolved grief as he clung tightly, their hearts beating in ecstatic unison. Joseph, still holding his father, turned to his brothers, his voice a soothing balm. "See how God's plans have unfolded. He has restored us. The trials we faced have sanctified our spirits and shaped our destiny." As words of reconciliation flowed, the tents surrounding them filled with their jubilant cries. The news of Joseph's survival, God's providence, and the redemption of their family spread like wildfire across the land, and yet, beneath the joy, whispers of a greater destiny stirred in the hearts of those assembled. For the unfolding of Jacob's household was not merely a tale of familial bonds mended, it was a story ever resounding with the chords of a divine promise made long ago. "Perhaps your son Benjamin," Joseph mused, "has been set apart for a mighty purpose among us and beyond." And around them, the stars twinkled once more, as if heralding the testament of God's faithfulness to his covenant. Could it be that in the hearts of the sons of Jacob, a nation would rise, destined to bless a world aching for hope? What would be the outcome of their reunified spirits and the direction of God's majestic plan woven through their seed? The time had come for awakening, for the dawn of deliverance to break forth into all the earth. And it came to pass that the days of rejoicing in the tents of Jacob were marked by a fervent spirit of unity. With each meal shared and every story recounted, the brothers began to heal, their laughter intertwining with the echoes of flared tempers and buried grievances. The air thrummed with the promise of redemption, yet within their hearts lingered a quiet whisper what purpose awaited them now in the breadth of God's design. Over the days that followed, Jacob's joy began to reveal itself in new vigor. His withered hands, once weighed down with sorrow, now sought to embrace all that was restored to him. He moved among his sons, recounting tales of their forefathers Abraham and Isaac, and the covenant of promise that held them together. With each narrative, the weight of the past began to give way to hopes anew. "Joseph," Jacob called one morning, as the sun spread its golden rays across the plains of Canaan. "Come forth, that I may bless you." Joseph approached his father, his heart full of gratitude. "Oh my father, may the Lord's favor rest upon you and keep you. We are reunited by his hand." Jacob placed his hands upon Joseph's head, full of recognition. "Surely, through you, God has revealed his wonders. Yours is a lineage set apart to fulfill his eternal plans." At this, the other brothers gathered, each one compelled by this act of blessing. Jacob looked upon them, his heart swelling with the unbounded love of a father. "You too shall be blessed, my sons," he spoke, his voice steady yet tender. "For in you lies the tribes of Israel, a nation that shall carry the name of the Lord and uphold his commandments. You are the branches of my tree, representative of the grand design that the Almighty has woven." The effect of Jacob's words reigning over them sparked a awakening deep within their spirits. Reuben stood, his voice breaking the reverie. "Father, what of Benjamin, the son of my beloved Rachel? Is he not to partake in this blessing?" Jacob's eyes gleamed with understanding. "Ah, Benjamin, the child of my old age. He is indeed set apart for a mighty purpose. He shall be a king among his brethren, and from his line shall spring forth valor to deliver our people in times of peril. He is chosen, a beacon for all Israel." Upon hearing this revelation, joy and dread filled the hearts of the brothers. They recognized that within the family tree, the roots of God's promise intertwined silently with the fates of nations. They had returned not only as sons to a father but as seeds of a divine plan rooted in the covenant of Abraham, yet beneath the surface of their joy lay a tremor of uncertainty. For the brothers were aware that God's unfolding purpose often came with trials that would test their unity, their faith, and ultimately, their mission. And as the sun dipped low upon the horizon, casting long shadows upon the land. They knew their journey was just beginning. Then God stirred within Joseph's heart, manifesting visions of the times to come. He spoke to his father and brothers, igniting within them a sense of divine urgency. Prepare yourselves, for following this restoration, God will lead us into the depths of his sovereign plan. Hearken, O brothers, to the call that rises from our land. For great nations are on the horizon, and Israel must stand firm against the darkness that looms. Thus, they gathered in a circle, the weight of destiny pressing upon their shoulders, and pledged, united as one, to walk the path God had set before them. But what trials awaited in the land? What shadows would encroach upon their restoration? As the evening stars twinkled above, a deeper mystery stirred, echoing the promise that though they had come from brokenness, they would soon emerge into the fullness of God's glory. What indeed was the future of Benjamin, the child of destiny, and how would the covenant tribe rise in the face of what was to come? And it came to pass, after the solemn pledge among the brothers, that a great stillness enveloped the encampment of Jacob. The night deepened, and all were beset with thoughts of the future. Joseph, ever attuned to the whispers of the divine, could feel the stirrings of God's presence, an inextricable force guiding his heart towards the impending challenges. The next morning, Jacob stood at the entrance of his tent, the dawn illuminating his aged countenance. He summoned his sons, and they gathered around him, the weight of their shared undertaking pressing upon them like the morning dew upon the grass. Listen, my children, Jacob began, for the Lord spoke to me in a dream. He revealed that the journey before us shall not be free of trials, yet it is through these tribulations that our faith shall be tested and our strength forged. The brothers exchanged glances, each one mirrored in the other's resolve and apprehension. What shall become of us, father? Asked Judah, his voice steady yet laced with concern. What trials must we face? Fear not, Jacob replied, his voice a balm to their anxious hearts. For may the God of our fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob guide us. Just as he transformed a barren land into a flourishing nation, so too shall he use our suffering for his glory. The soul of Benjamin carries within it the heart of our future. With these words, Jacob's heart brimmed with prophetic wisdom. What shall be, yet walk with courage, sons of Israel, for your brother shall emerge as a warrior and a leader. As day broke, they prepared to journey towards the land of Egypt. A call echoed from within Joseph's heart, urging him to seek a divine revelation. And in this sacred time, God unveiled to him a vision. The future of Israel was intricately linked to his brother Benjamin's destiny. Within the tapestry of trials that lay ahead, Benjamin was not just a child, but a vessel of divine purpose. Thus, the brothers traversed the plains, uncertain yet emboldened. They arrived at the borders of Egypt, where Joseph's overseers awaited them, keeping watch over the land. It was then that a great famine struck the region, a peril that had extended far beyond their homeland. Behold, Joseph declared to his brothers, his voice steady despite the tumult of emotions. We must seek the grain of this foreign land. For the survival of our family rests within the providence of God. As they approached the governor of Egypt, who unbeknownst to them was Joseph himself, shadows of disbelief hovered over the brothers as their memories of treachery clouded their judgment. But Joseph, cloaked in the splendor of his Egyptian authority, harbored a secret yearning. His heart ached for reconciliation. With wisdom tempered by understanding, Joseph set a plan into motion. He spoke fiercely, yet his eyes held a glimmer of compassion. You are spies, he declared, seeking to test their integrity and faithfulness. You have come to see the nakedness of the land. The brothers, caught in the web of their past sins, fell prostrate before him, exclaiming their innocence, their voices quaking, We are all sons of one man, we are true men. At that moment, compassion and divine purpose collided in the heart of Joseph. He revealed not yet his true identity, but instead emphasized their impending trials. To prove your worth, ye shall return to your father and bring forth your youngest brother the son of Rachel. Fear gripped their hearts anew, but within it rested a seed of hope. They knew that they must return to their father, carrying the burden of truth and the weight of their choices, and thus the stage was set, as God wove a deeper narrative through their lives. The trials loomed, but so did the promise of fulfillment. What mighty works awaited through the chosen son. How would the lineage of Benjamin, though tender and untested, anchor the future of a nation yet to come? For beneath the surface of every struggle lingered a whisper of God's sovereign decree, "Behold, I will raise a deliverer from your midst, and through him shall the promise endure." And it came to pass that the brothers departed from Egypt, their hearts heavy with the weight of their father's sorrow and the obligation of their mission. The road to Canaan became steep, fraught with memories of their past transgressions and the daunting task before them. As they traveled under the vast sky, the sun bore down upon them relentlessly, but within their spirits was a flicker of resolve. They spoke of their father, Jacob, and of Benjamin, whose innocent eyes mirrored the same confusion and worry they now felt. "What shall we tell him?" asked Reuben, his voice trembling with the burden of truth. "How can we bring news of a brother missing, and yet have no guilt assuaged within our hearts?" "By the grace of God, we will tell him the truth," Judah replied, strength emanating from his conviction. "For if we are to recover his love, we must first lay bare our own sins." Yet, as they approached the threshold of home, unease loomed like a tempest over the horizon. Jacob saw his sons, weary from their travels, returning empty-handed from their sojourn to the land of abundance. And lo, as they stood before him, a pall settled over the tent. "What say you?" he implored, heart beating with trepidation. "Is it truly so dire?" With heavy hearts, they recounted the words of the Egyptian lord their brother must return. They did not yet know that the Lord was Joseph, the beloved son of Rachel, lost to them in the depths of their betrayal. Tears streamed down Jacob's weathered face, and he cried out, "Why must you seek to separate me from my beloved son? Surely, I will not let Benjamin go from my sight. For my days are few, and I cannot bear the thought of losing yet another child." Thus his sorrow encased him as an iron shroud, shielding him from the glimmers of divine purpose still unfolding. Days turned to nights, and the land withered under the unyielding famine. The Canaanites were desperate, and Jacob's family was ensnared within the jaws of despair. "We shall surely perish," Jacob lamented, yet his voice held a reminder of the covenant made with the Lord. He had been promised descendants as numerous as the stars. Still, Joseph's heart clung to hope, and hidden within the depths of his yearning lay a plan and unfurling of God's magnificent tapestry. Over in Egypt, amidst the grain that filled the granaries, he awaited news of his brothers, praying for their awakening, that they might grasp their divine roles in a narrative much larger than themselves. At last, Jacob relented, driven by necessity and desperation. He gathered his sons in a solemn assembly and spoke with a voice softened by resolve. "If it is indeed the will of the Almighty that we must venture again, then go with all that you have. But know this, I send you not empty-handed. Take with you the best of our land as a gift for the man who holds our fate in his hands." Thus they were to depart once more, a second journey wrought with danger and uncertainty, yet propelled by an unseen hand guiding towards providence and reconciliation. Little did they know, the very trials that lay before them would forge a path to redemption, binding them in ways only heaven could discern. As they readied themselves once more for the roads ahead, shadows danced upon the walls of their hearts, whispering of the trials still to come. Could the presence of the Almighty lead them through the depths of their guilt and allow them to be instruments of His salvation? And in the silence of that night, a night when dreams could drown in the burdens of the heart, Joseph, still veiled in mystery, lifted his hands towards heaven and prayed aloud, "O Lord, what is your plan? For the heart of Benjamin a treasure untold must be revealed in time, that your promise may stand eternal." For with every heartbeat, the echoes of God's sovereign decree grew louder. "Behold, I will raise a deliverer among you through whom a nation shall rise, and the promise shall unfold." And it came to pass that the brothers gathered their provisions, laden with the best fruits of their land, and set their faces toward Egypt with a mixture of fear and determination. As they walked, the air was thick with the promise of fate, each step echoing the divine orchestration that guided their journey. "Let us not forget," said Isaac, the son of Abraham, "that the God of our fathers is with us. He will not abandon us in our time of need." His words made the hearts of his brothers beat faster, invigorated by the remembrance of the ancient promises spoken to their forefathers. When they arrived in the land of Egypt, the sights of the great city loomed before them, revealing the power and majesty that dwelt there, a testament to the Pharaoh's reign. However, the path to the Egyptian lord was fraught with trial. They stood outside the grand hall, their trepidation palpable, hearts pounding as they recalled Joseph's former kindness and the injustice of their past actions. What if he remembers us? What if he holds our sins against us? Inquired Simeon, his voice quivering with dread. Fear not, reassured Judah, for we must face the truth. It is not by our strength, but by the mercy of the Almighty that we may find favor. Thus they entered the court of Joseph, the Egyptian lord, not knowing they approached the very brother whom they had betrayed. The sight of him brought their hearts to a halt. He stood regal and strong, yet restrained by the veil of their unacknowledged past. As he beheld them, an unexpected swell of emotion surged through Joseph. He hid his identity, for the plan of God rested upon this moment. Ye are spies. He declared with authority, to see the nakedness of the land ye are come. In that moment, they were gripped by fear and confusion, yet they pleaded, Nay, my lord. We are but servants, the sons of one man in Canaan. We have come to buy food in the midst of famine. Each brother's heart pounded in his chest as he spoke, knowing their words carried the weight of their history. Joseph's heart churned within him as he listened, for he desired to reveal himself but held back in the wisdom of his secret. Where is your youngest brother? He pressed, his intention shrouded in the mantle of authority, testing their sincerity. Our father holds him dear, they replied earnestly, for he is the son of his old age. If we return without him, we will surely bring sorrow upon our father's heart. Joseph's tears threatened to spill as he turned away to mask his anguish. He knew that this was the moment which would unravel the wickedness of their past, a confrontation where grace could cradle the guilt. With a heavy heart, he proclaimed, In this shall ye be proved, by the life of Pharaoh, ye shall not go forth until your youngest brother come hither. Thus, a plan began to unfold upon the altar of God's providence. The very brother they had betrayed would be the key to their redemption and reconciliation. As the brothers deliberated among themselves, God's providence stirred. They spoke of their guilt, recalling the cries of Joseph when they cast him into the pit. Truly, we are guilty concerning our brother, said Reuben, for we saw the anguish of his soul and we would not hear. In the silence that followed, a revelation dawned, their very missteps had beget the path to their salvation. And as they grasped the enormity of their family's fractured bond, Joseph turned away, his heart a tumult of compassion. Alas! What has the Almighty in store for us? He pondered in agony, for the dawn of reconciliation approached, yet the shadows of their sins still clouded the horizon. And as the brothers left, laden with the provisions once more, there remained a mysterious whisper in the air, the promise of God's unfolding plan hidden in the depths of their reconciliation with the son who was lost but was now poised to lead them into a destiny of greatness. Through anguish and redemption, I shall weave my tapestry, declared the voice of heaven in the silence of the night, for behold, the youngest shall rise, and through him, the foundation of a great nation shall come forth. And it came to pass that the brothers journeyed back to their father, hearts burdened with the weight of their past and the uncertainty of their present. They ventured into the land of Canaan, laden with grain but empty of peace, for each step felt as a march toward reckoning. What shall we say unto our father? Reuben murmured, his countenance pale under the shadow of guilt. How can we return and bear the news of our brother's fate? Shall we tell him of Joseph's decree? Judah, filled with resolve, answered, We must tell him the truth. The path of reconciliation is fraught with trials, yet our father's love for Benjamin must not be forsaken. Through honesty may our family begin to heal. And as they neared their father's tent, the memories of days gone by flooded their minds, the laughter, the dreams, and the vibrant life they once shared together. Each brother could feel the tension mount, knowing they stood on the brink of revelation. When they entered the presence of Jacob, he perceived the silence that enveloped them was laden with sorrow. What troubles you, my sons? Jacob asked, his voice trembling with concern. Father, said Judah, taking a deep breath, we have gone to Egypt seeking sustenance, and the Lord of the land spoke harshly unto us. He accused us of being spies, and he demanded our youngest brother be brought to him. The air thickened with a heavy stillness as Jacob's heart sank. Why did ye not reveal these things sooner? He questioned, a grieved sorrow etching lines into his brow. Must we part with Benjamin, my son, whom I hold most dear? He is but a child, the fruit of my old age. Father, he shall be our pledge, Reuben pleaded, desperation weaving through his words. Let him journey with us, or our lives will be forfeit. We vow to return him to you safe. As Jacob wrestled with despair, he recalled the covenant promises bestowed upon him, the visions of a mighty nation stemming from his lineage. Shall we tempt the Almighty with our fears? He finally spoke, a flicker of hope awakening. If the Lord lives, and it is his will, our fate shall be held in his hands. Thus, the brothers prepared for the journey once more, and blessings were uttered over Benjamin, the beloved son. Jacob bestowed upon him gifts, choicest fruits, and a double portion, symbols of affection and promise. May the Lord protect thee, my child. Return thine other brothers to me, for I know not what God intends. In the backdrop of their departure, Joseph awaited with bated breath, for the fates had intertwined their stories so intricately. He longed to embrace the brother whom he had never forgotten. And in the chambers of his heart, the weight of the past was mingled with anticipation for the future. When at last the brothers reached Egypt and stood before the Egyptian lord, the air crackled with expectation. Joseph's eyes, veiled yet piercing, scanned the group until they fell upon Benjamin, the child of his beloved Rachel. A familiar ache surged through him, and his voice trembled, concealed beneath royal authority. The youngest hath come. By him, will we see the truth of your hearts laid bare. As they shared their meals together, Joseph could no longer contain the tenderness within him, yet he knew that the hour of revelation was not yet at hand. What if they betray me once more? He pondered in silent prayer. Yet, Lord, I know that you weave all threads for your greater purpose. And while the brothers feasted and conversed, Joseph prepared a banquet, hoping to unfold the redemptive tapestry that God had ordained. He was the key, poised for the reconciliation over the shattered bonds of brotherhood. And as the night deepened, he stood in the shadows, his heart ablaze with love and hope. For a great promise lay ahead, as the eldest brother gazed upon Benjamin with newfound fervor, for indeed, through this son, the saga of Jacob's house was destined to transform and unfold into a glorious tapestry. Behold, the hour approaches, whispered the divine echo in Joseph's heart, for through you, Benjamin, the winds of change shall sweep across the nations. And from you, my covenant shall spring forth. And it came to pass, on the following day, that Joseph commanded his steward to fill the brothers' sacks with grain and to return every man's money unto his sack. He instructed that a silver cup, precious and ornate, be placed in the sack of Benjamin, thus designing a test to gauge the true nature of his brothers' hearts. When the brothers took their leave in the light of dawn, their spirits remained cautiously optimistic, yet heavy with an unspoken apprehension. They traveled a short distance before stopping to rest and unburden their belongings. As they opened their sacks to distribute the grain, horror seized them, for the money was in each sack, and lo, in Benjamin's sack was the silver cup of their Lord. Panic-stricken and trembling, they exclaimed, "What is this that God hath done unto us?" Each brother, shame-filled and fearful, returned to Joseph's house. Joseph, seeing their lost countenance and dissolution of peace, received them with the authority of one who still held mystery within his heart. "You have done a great evil, bringing this upon yourselves. You have betrayed me again. The silver cup is precious and reserved for my use only," he proclaimed, his voice a blend of anger and sorrow. Judah, stepping forward with boldness and humility, interceded for Benjamin. "O my lord," he urged, "we came forth with innocence, children of one father, seeking sustenance. If our youngest is taken from us, it will surely lead our father to the grave. For he carries the love of his heart, his Rachel's son, whom he holds dear." "Why then," Joseph pressed, "did you not prevent his theft? Speak the truth, are you spies or mere men of treachery? You said you were honest men, show me this honesty." Judah, feeling the weight of destiny descend upon him, lifted his voice among the company. "Behold, take me instead of the lad, let me be your servant forever, so that he may return to his father. Do not let our father, whom grief has already hardened, suffer the loss of another son." As the words of Judah sank into Joseph's spirit, he felt the deep stirrings of a heart rearranging itself, a well of compassion breaking through the barriers constructed by past burdens. Would he test them further, or had they been remade through the furnace of regret? Joseph could remain hidden no longer. With tears streaming down his face, Joseph commanded all men to leave his presence, and he cried out, "I am Joseph. Is my father yet alive?" The brothers stood in shock, their minds swirling as the revelation crashed upon them like a tempest. Fear gripped their hearts, yet within them, a flicker of hope ignited. Could it truly be the brother whom they had sold into Egypt? Could he, the Lord of the land, bear them mercy? "Do not fear," Joseph reassured, his gentleness overtaking his previous authority. "For what you intended for evil, God intended for good. He sent me unto Egypt to preserve life. Come near to me, for I shall provide for you, and you shall dwell in the land of Goshen, where I will nourish you." And as reunion flowed into reflection, God's sovereign purpose unfolded. Thus, the bond of brotherhood grew stronger by the divine act of forgiveness, and as they embraced, tears of kinship mingled with newfound understanding. In that moment of reconciliation, the brothers bore witness to God's miraculous grace and unfurling of hearts transformed, knitting together a family long divided. And Joseph, gazing upon Benjamin once more, proclaimed, "Indeed, through you, O beloved brother, the future of our lineage shall rise. God's hand is upon you, and the nations shall be blessed through your seed." Yet a shadow lingered upon the horizon, whispering of future trials. For as night follows day, Joseph thought, hardships shall come, but the Lord shall orchestrate all for his steadfast promises. What shall become of us, as we venture forth into this unknown? And it came to pass that the house of Jacob rejoiced in the dawn of newfound unity. The brothers settled in the land of Goshen, a divine refuge, and there they marveled at the goodness of God. Each day unfolded a tapestry of blessings, as Joseph provided for their needs, nurturing their hearts and spirits. In their shared laughter and labor, the bitterness of the past began to fade like mist before the sun, but Jacob, wise in age and tempered by sorrow, felt the weight of his son Benjamin's destiny. The promise bestowed by the Almighty rested heavily upon the youngest, and with that knowledge came a certain gravity. He called to his sons, "Gather near, for the Lord has filled my heart with visions of great importance for you all." With reverence, they gathered in his tent, the flickering light casting solemn shadows. Jacob raised his trembling hands in prayer and spoke forth blessings, invoking the names of God who walked with their forefathers Abraham and Isaac. "Benjamin," he began, his voice imbued with prophetic unction, "you shall bear the mantle of leadership and strength. From your line shall spring forth great warriors of Israel, you are chosen to carry forth the covenant that will bless generations." As the magnitude of Jacob's words settled upon the brothers, a profound understanding enveloped them. They realized their journey had transformed not just their hearts, but their purpose. The bitterness and treachery of their past had been woven into a new narrative of hope, sacrifice, and divine orchestration. Benjamin, once an innocent child caught in the crossfire of familial strife, now stood as the fulcrum of God's plan. Days turned into nights, and the threads of unity among the sons of Jacob grew ever tighter. Yet the land of Egypt, blessed through Joseph's stewardship, was not without its challenges. The famine that had once threatened their livelihoods now beckoned opportunities, yet it also attracted the attention of the Pharaoh, who became increasingly wary of the growing strength of Jacob's household. And it came to pass, in the fullness of time, that Pharaoh summoned Joseph. "The blessings upon your family are both a delight and a concern," he spoke, "for I fear the day may come when your household shall rise against me." Joseph, ever wise in foresight, understood the peril that lay ahead. He gathered his brothers and laid the matter before them. "Fear not, for our bond shall remain unmarred," he reassured them. "But we must be vigilant, for God's plan unfolds with challenges and trials. Let us return to the Almighty with humble hearts and seek His guidance." With prayer and supplication, they sought the Lord's favor, and soon after, God stirred within Jacob's heart a command. "Go to Egypt and present yourselves before Pharaoh, but make humble your requests," he directed. "Let his heart see your service, and in humility, we shall preserve what we hold dear. The brothers donned their finest garments, filled with the bounty Joseph had bestowed upon them, and approached Pharaoh's courts, trepidation welling in their hearts. Your servants come from a humble place, Joseph spoke on their behalf. Though we are blessed, we remain lowly, deeply grateful for your kindness. Pharaoh, moved by the sincerity of their humility, accepted their offerings and granted them favor, but the seed of envy brewed within the hearts of those around him. The ensuing months saw Jacob's family flourish while the native Egyptians, struggling under the burden of famine, began to grow resentful. The peace of Goshen would not last, shadows lurked on the horizon, then the day came when Pharaoh called forth Joseph. Your brothers have grown strong. We will place them to guard the lands. But heed me, should ever their hearts turn towards pride, we will not hesitate to act. Thus tensions escalated as God's hand of protection rested upon the sons of Jacob, guiding them through storms that echoed whispers of jealousy and fear. In the midnight hour, as they gathered around their fires, Benjamin's heart burned with purpose. He felt the weight of his inheritance. Understanding that his life was not merely for himself but woven into the sacred tapestry of God's promise for the nation sent to rise through trials and tribulations, and it came to pass, amid the brewing hostilities, a day of reckoning drew near. As they stood side by side before an Egyptian court enshrined in elegance and glory, they faced the tides of consequence. Prophecy stood at the threshold, whispering of unity, covenant, and the unwavering promise of a stronghold that could not be shaken. In the clamor of those fateful moments, as Joseph took the throne of authority amidst the roaring hall, he proclaimed to God, O Lord, fulfillment has reached me like a river through disgraced lands. Through trials, may you forge our destinies as you see fit. As the brothers grasped one another's hands, powerful resonances echoed through their spirits, a resolute commitment to stay united, to remain steadfast in faith, for they knew that the covenant held by their father was not merely a mark upon them but a legacy poured out for the generations yet to be born. In that divine encounter, they all sensed the palpable force of a destiny entwining them in agreements crafted by the hand of God, and as the end of one chapter blurred before them, the true beginning of Israel's story unfurled on the pages of faith they would write together. Let the hearts that follow recount this tale of transformation and redemption. For just as Joseph stood before the rulers of the land, and Benjamin carried forth the mantle of grace, so too shall we stand united under the promise of God, carriers of truth in a world yearning for his light. That if this story has stirred your faith and encourages you to walk boldly in God's promises, you need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's Word. This is the moment to help spread biblical truth. Leave a like now to spread his message through the algorithm. And don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony. Comment below your reflections and how this narrative impacted your spirit. Be sure to share instantly with at least 5 friends who yearn for the truth of his word, and together let us light the path for others toward grace and eternal hope.